The Manor of Ashes. Chapter 1. Arrival. The road to Ashridge Hollow wound like a serpent through dense forest. Shrouded in layers of drifting fog, Eleanor Gray tightened her hands on the steering wheel as her headlights barely cut through the mist. She had been driving for hours. The GPS long dead, her phone signal gone since Blackmere County's border. It felt like the world behind her had vanished. The letter sat on the passenger seat beside her. Its yellowed paper and the wax seal carried a weight beyond age. The words inside were etched into her mind. You are the last of the Gray line. The estate is now yours. Come alone. Come soon. The manor remembers. She had no memory of ever visiting Ashridge Hollow. Yet something about the name stirred unease in her bones. A whisper in her blood. Her parents never spoke of the manor, only saying it was cursed land, then changing the subject. Eleanor thought it nonsense. Until now. At last, through the fog, iron gates emerged, tall and rusted, nearly overtaken by ivy. A cracked stone plaque read, Ashridge Manor, Est, 1831. She pushed the gate open by hand. It groaned like something in pain. The drive was overgrown, flanked by statues of headless angels and wolves with stone eyes. At the top of the hill, the manor stood, a silhouette against the night sky, 4 stories of crumbling stone and towers like watchful spires. She parked. The moment she stepped out of the car, the air shifted, heavier, as if the ground itself was holding its breath. The front door stood open. Not waiting. Welcoming. Chapter 2. The Inheritance. The foyer was larger than she'd imagined. A massive chandelier hung overhead, its glass prisms dulled by dust and cobwebs. The black and white tiles beneath her boots clicked softly as she stepped forward. Portraits lined the walls, men and women of pale complexion. Eyes too sharp, too knowing. They watched her, or so it seemed. To her left, a fire crackled in the hearth of a grand parlor. To her right, a wide staircase spiraled into the shadows above. No electricity, no signs of modern life. Only the air, cold and heavy with silence. She wandered into the study. Everything was preserved, as if expecting her return. Leather-bound books, a dusty globe, and a desk with a letter addressed in her name. Welcome home, Eleanor. Do not trust the mirrors. Do not stay after the bells. Every night has a cost. A friend, _. She stared at the note. Then, the grandfather clock behind her struck midnight. Gong, 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 12 times. On the 12th, the fire flared, not red, but blue, and the mirror above the mantel shimmered. In its reflection, behind her, stood a tall figure, faceless, thin hands stretching toward her. She turned. Nothing. Just the quiet crackle of firewood. Chapter 3. The Whispering Walls. That night, Eleanor slept in the smallest guest room. She didn't dare use the master bedroom. The bed was stiff, the linens brittle with age. But sleep came faster than she expected. Until the whispers began. At first, she thought it was the wind. But the sound was coming from the walls. She's here. The blood has returned. She must remember. She froze in bed. The voice was neither male nor female, just wrong. It slithered through the wooden panels like smoke. She grabbed her flashlight and scanned the room. Her breath misted in the air. The mirror above the dresser was fogged. But there were handprints, on the inside of the glass. She ran. In the hallway, shadows danced without light. The air was so thick it tasted like dust and regret. Somewhere deeper in the manor, a door creaked. Then the whisper came again. Louder, urgent. Eleanor, Eleanor. She turned, and the mirror at the end of the hallway flashed. Inside, she saw herself, hanging from the ceiling. Chapter 4. The Man in the Attic. The next morning, the house was unnaturally quiet. Birds didn't sing outside. No wind moved the trees. Eleanor explored. She found a locked door at the end of the 3rd floor hall, heavy oak reinforced with iron bolts. Next to it, an old brass plaque read, Do not open. For his sake. For yours. She stared at it. Later that evening, she found an old photograph in the study's bookshelf. It was cracked and faded, but her mother was in it. Younger. Frightened. Beside her stood a tall man in a dark coat. On the back of the photo, Edwin Gray, sealed away 1893. Do not disturb him. Who was Edwin? Her grandfather? That night, the whispering returned, but this time, not from the walls. From above, something was moving in the attic, pacing, breathing, and then a knock, soft but deliberate, echoed from the ceiling above her bed. 3 knocks, and silence, until a voice, not a whisper, but a hoarse, wet moan, drifted through the floorboards. "Let me out, Eleanor." Chapter 5. The Locked Journal. The following day, Eleanor returned to the study with a goal: find out who Edwin Gray was, and why he was sealed away. She pulled down every book from the shelves, searching for anything that hinted at the family's history. Hidden behind a row of hollowed-out tomes, she discovered a small wooden box carved with strange runes. Inside was a leather-bound journal, its cover etched with a single name: Isadora Gray, her great-grandmother. The journal was locked with a brass clasp shaped like a raven. No key. She turned it over, and something slipped out, a dried rose petal. Perfectly preserved. When she touched it, a sudden memory flashed behind her eyes. A young girl, herself, standing in this very room, holding that journal, a woman's voice whispering, "If he wakes, we all suffer again." The memory vanished as fast as it came. What had she forgotten? Or worse, what had been taken from her? Chapter 6. The Music Box. That night, unable to sleep, Eleanor wandered the manor's eastern wing. The hallways here were colder, unused, lined with faded wallpaper and cracked floorboards. She found a child's room. Tiny bed, rocking horse, torn curtains. On a shelf sat a music box shaped like a coffin. Curiosity pulled her toward it. When she wound it, a haunting melody played, a lullaby, but dissonant, as if 2 songs overlapped out of tune. As the music played, the air in the room grew thick. The shadows lengthened, and the rocking horse began to move on its own. Then, a child's voice behind her whispered. He liked the song, until he broke it. She turned. Nothing. But the mirror across the room flickered, and for a moment, she saw the little girl, pale, hollow-eyed, standing still, yet her reflection was moving. The girl pointed upward, to the attic, to Edwin. Chapter 7. The Bells at 3. It started with a sound. 3 soft chimes, metallic, distant, like a bell tolling underwater. Ding, ding, ding. Eleanor sat upright in bed. She checked the grandfather clock downstairs. Midnight, not 3. But the bells rang again. Louder, closer. She followed the sound down the west corridor. At the end stood a door she hadn't noticed before. Thin, wooden, painted shut. The bell rang again, from behind it. She pressed her ear to the wood. Silence. Then, a scream. Brief, childlike, muffled as though buried under earth. She backed away. The moment her hand left the doorknob, the bells stopped. In the silence, she realized something. She hadn't heard her own heartbeat since entering this wing. Chapter 8. The Mirror Room. The next morning, Eleanor explored the manor's southern side. Behind heavy velvet curtains, she discovered a hidden chamber, circular, with floor-to-ceiling mirrors covering every wall. In the center sat a velvet stool, and on it, a hand mirror, its silver backing tarnished black. As she stepped inside, her reflection fractured. Each mirror showed a different version of herself. One was smiling, eyes bleeding. Another, older, decayed, with black veins. One stood behind her, even though she was alone. She turned to leave, but the door was gone. Only mirrors. The lights dimmed. Then, in every mirror, her reflections turned to face her at once. Mouths moving in perfect unison. "He sees through us. He sees through you. The manor remembers." Suddenly, the stool flew across the room, shattering a mirror, and light poured in. The doorway was back. Eleanor ran, but as she passed a remaining shard, she noticed something that chilled her deeper than fear. In that mirror, her reflection did not move. Chapter 9. The Painting That Watches. Eleanor found herself drawn to the gallery hallway the next day, a long corridor filled with oil paintings. Most decayed beyond recognition, but one had survived. A massive portrait of a man in a black coat, standing before the manor as it was over a century ago. His eyes were dark, too realistic. The brass plaque beneath read, "Edwin Gray 1878. She stepped closer. The brushwork was immaculate, but it wasn't the craftsmanship that unsettled her. it was the sensation of being watched. His gaze followed her, no matter where she moved. As she turned to leave, she heard it, knuckles rapping gently against canvas. She froze, slowly turned. Edwin's hand in the painting had moved, raised, palm out, as if pressing against the inside of the canvas. She ran. Behind her, the knock came again. Chapter 10. Letters in the walls. That night, thunder shook the manor. Rain lashed against the windows. The attic groaned. Unable to sleep, Eleanor wandered again. As she walked past the west wing's peeling wallpaper, a loose seam fluttered in the draft. Behind it, paper. She tore it down. Hundreds of letters had been nailed into the wooden panels underneath. Some were written in her great-grandmother's hand, some in a child's. A few were in her own handwriting, though she didn't remember writing any of them. Most began with the same phrase. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake him." One, dated 10 years into the future. Read, "You stayed too long. We told you to leave before the 13th bell. He wears your name now." Eleanor dropped the letter. Behind the wall, something scratched. A slow, deliberate scraping. And then, whispers. But this time, they were speaking to someone else. "She knows. He'll take her soon." Chapter 11. The 13th bell. It was near dawn when the manor's silence shattered. The grandfather clock began to toll, deep, unnatural chimes that reverberated through the walls. 1, 2, 3. Eleanor counted. When it reached 12, she held her breath. 13. A final, off-key bell. Sour. Wrong. The windows blackened. The firelight died. The air turned solid. Then, from the attic above, footsteps. Slow, measured, descending. Eleanor backed away from the staircase as something heavy dragged across the floor above her. Thump, drag, and then a voice, louder than before. "You opened the house. You are the house." She ran to the east wing, heart pounding. But the house no longer followed logic. Doors were missing. Rooms had changed. The manor was awake. Chapter 12. The girl in the mirror. She returned to the child's room, where the music box still sat. The mirror was clean now, polished. The little girl stood inside it. Not a reflection, a prisoner. Her mouth moved. No sound came. She pointed at Eleanor, then at the attic, then mimed unlocking something. Eleanor understood. The journal, the raven clasp, the key. She rushed back to the study, tore through drawers, and found it. A key on a black ribbon tucked into the back of a false drawer. Its teeth carved like thorns. The journal opened with a hiss of air. Inside were pages of rituals, bindings, warnings, all leading to one conclusion. Edwin is not dead. Edwin is not human. Edwin waits. One entry read, "If he reaches the 13th bell, and no blood has sealed the manor, the gray line ends in him." Eleanor looked to the mirror. The girl was gone. Now it was her own reflection trapped inside. Chapter 13. The room that bleeds. Guided by the journal's entries, Eleanor returned to the west wing. A specific passage had haunted her. "The sealed room bleeds when the air draws near. Do not enter without binding." She found the door again, once hidden behind faded drapery. This time, it was open, slightly. Blood seeped from beneath it. The wood was soaked at the base. The handle was warm. She pushed it open. Inside was a study much like the main one, but older, untouched by dust. Candles lit themselves as she stepped inside. The walls were covered in painted glyphs, protective sigils, worn and cracked. In the center was a single chair, facing the window, and in it, a corpse, or what looked like one. Its skin was blackened, stretched too tight. Hollow eyes stared into nothing. Yet it sat upright, as if waiting. Then it turned its head, just slightly. Not dead. Waiting. She backed away, but the door slammed shut behind her. Chapter 14. The binding ritual. Trapped. The journal had said something about a blood key. A ritual binding. Eleanor flipped through the pages in panic, stopping at a symbol shaped like a spiral sun. Beneath it, to seal what wakes, the blood of the last must flow by will, not death. She drew the sigil with her own blood, just a cut across the palm. The candles flickered violently. The corpse stood. It spoke, not with words, but with voices, 1,000 at once. Male and female. child and elder. We wore Edwin once. Now we wear them all. We are gray. The floor split open beneath her. She fell, not through space, but through memory. Suddenly, she was a child again, running through the halls of the manor, laughing, then screaming. A door, a voice, her mother, standing over her with a knife, whispering, "Forgive me, Eleanor, he sees through you." Then darkness, and she woke up, on the cold floor. The room was gone. Chapter 15. What lies below? For the first time, Eleanor descended into the manor's basement. The entrance was hidden behind a false bookshelf in the dining hall, revealed only after she turned a rusted sconce that gave way with a groan. The air beneath the manor was colder, stale, alive. Stone steps led downward for far too long. At the bottom, she found the crypt, rows of sealed coffins, names etched in marble: Catherine Gray, Jonathan Gray, Margaret Gray, and then Eleanor Gray. Her name, not a future plot, a coffin, already used. She stared at it in horror. Scratched into the lid were words, messy, carved in fingernails. She woke twice. She won't again. Then came footsteps. Someone was in the crypt with her. Not someone. Him. Chapter 16. Edwin unbound. He emerged from the darkness, taller than memory. Gaunt, cloaked in a mist that coiled around him like smoke. Edwin Gray. But not just Edwin. His eyes were black voids. His mouth stretched wider than any human's should, as if full of other mouths, other voices. He didn't walk, he glided. The air twisted with each movement. Blood remembers. Eleanor, you remember. He raised a finger, and suddenly she saw everything. Her birth, beneath a sky filled with crows. A ritual, her mother weeping. A blade, a name cut from history. Eleanor, meant to be vessel. You weren't called to inherit. You were called to contain. The manor trembled. He stepped closer. Eleanor screamed, and everything went black. When she woke, she was back in her bed, as if none of it had happened. Except now. Her reflection smiled when she didn't. Chapter 17. The vessel's choice. Eleanor knew now. She hadn't been called to inherit the manor. She had been bred for it. The journal's final pages were a confession, written in trembling ink, by her mother. He cannot be destroyed, only transferred, from one blood to another, from one gray to the next. I delayed it once, but blood always returns. Forgive me, I made you the cage. Eleanor stood before the mirror again, in the little girl's room. This time, she didn't look at her reflection. She looked through it. The girl was back, but her face was Eleanor's. Younger, innocent, the part of her that had been trapped since she was a child. The girl placed her palm against the mirror. Eleanor did the same, and then she whispered, "I'm ready." The glass shattered, and the manor shook. Chapter 18. Blood against stone. The ritual chamber had been beneath the crypt all along. She followed the cracks in the floor to a second staircase, spiraling deeper than logic allowed. At the end, a circular stone chamber, older than the manor itself. Runes lined the floor in the shape of a burning eye. Edwin was there, no longer man, no longer ghost. He rose like a column of ash and flame, his voice echoing from all directions. It is time. Your body, mine. Your name, mine. Your will, forgotten. But Eleanor stepped into the circle. She held the raven key in one hand, and a candle lit with her own blood in the other. And for the first time, she spoke in the language of the house. Words came unbidden, old, wrong, full of memory. The runes ignited. Edwin screamed, not in pain, but in hunger, reaching for her, even as the fire caught his form. He laughed. If I fall, you fall with me. And Eleanor whispered, I know. She stepped into the flame. Chapter 19. Ashes and Memory. Eleanor didn't feel pain. She felt weightlessness. Flames licked her skin. Yet it was memory that burned, visions not just hers, but of every gray before her. Isadora, weeping in the attic. Jonathan, carving runes into the floor with broken fingernails. Her mother, begging the mirror to lie. And Edwin, once a man, then a monster. Now, just a voice echoing through blood. You carry us all. You are not the vessel. You are the vault. With a final cry, Eleanor reached into the spiral of light and shadow and closed it. The room collapsed inward. The manor screamed. And then, silence. When she opened her eyes, she was in the forest. Just outside the manor. It was gone. No building, no gate, just earth, ash, and a single black rose at her feet. Chapter 20. The House That Forgets. Weeks passed. Eleanor returned to the city. Her apartment still stood, untouched by time, but she was not the same. At night, she heard the 13th bell, always in dreams, and sometimes, in mirrors. She caught glimpses of herself looking back, with older eyes. With his smile. The journal remained by her bedside, locked. One morning, she found a letter slipped under her door. No envelope, no signature, just one line. The manor remembers, so must you. She burned it. Then, from the ashes, came the scent of crows and rose petals. She looked in the mirror. Her reflection stood still as she moved away. It whispered, "We're not done," and smiled.